Oh, you're getting married? Cool. What about my cruise? Now we don't get to go? Oh yeah? Well, guess what I'm gonna do. So, this story doesn't involve me too much, but I know quite a lot about entitled cousins' actions and behaviors through stories and family members, and my good cousin told me. Ever since we were little kids, my cousin, good cousin, and I have been best buds. We lived only a few miles away from another, so we would bike to each other's house, play in our backyards, and play video games. Good cousin comes from an extremely wealthy family. Her dad, my uncle, started a business when he was 20, and it's been super successful to the point that there's now several large locations across the globe. Even though his family is crazy rich, they live a very modest lifestyle. They live in a small 2-story home on a very few acres of land and a large pond that takes up most of it. The one lavish thing they do is that every 2 or 3 years, they go on a cruise. Good cousin is one of the 3 children. She has an older brother and her identical twin sister, evil cousin. You might think that good twin, evil twin scenario is only seen on TV, but good cousin and entitled cousin are the real world equivalent. Good cousin is kind and generous, while evil cousin selfish and entitled. Entitled cousin always has this idea in her head that because her dad was so wealthy, she did not have to lift a finger in life to get what she wanted. Good things just come to her. Good cousin and their brother, but good cousin had the common sense to know that she can't always rely on daddy's money, despite being pretty much everything they wanted growing up. Good cousin and her brother never had entitled attitudes. Their parents are also super nice, so entitled cousin was always the evil standout of the family. Entitled cousin's attitude only got worse as time went on. Eventually, entitled cousin got married and had a kid, a boy. Entitled cousin's husband is just as nasty as she is, so they were kind of made for each other. Entitled cousin always wanted to rub her child in good cousin's face like she wanted to gloat about having a kid before she did. Good cousin had a history of bad relationships, including those that involved verbal and physical abuse. One time, she came to her sister for advice after her boyfriend beat her. Entitled cousin had the nerve to blame her weight and not using makeup to make herself more attractive. Good cousin was afraid to date anyone after her last relationship disaster. But that changed when she finally met the man of her dreams, Good husband. I met Good husband, and personally, he's a giant teddy bear of a guy. He's the perfect guy to help Good cousin's old wounds and give her the loving, happy life she deserves. Then, nearly 2 years after they met, Good cousin and Good husband were engaged. The entire family was thrilled that Good cousin finally got the man of her dreams, and her father wanted to throw a boatload of money to help her pay a beautiful wedding. For future reference, he did the same thing for entitled cousin when she got married. Yet, entitled cousin was not happy about how extravagant Good cousin's wedding was. Good cousin wanted to be married at Niagara Falls and invited basically everyone she knew. Her father was going to pay for it all. Entitled cousin was furious. She talked to Good cousin and their father about the wedding and how all the money being spent better not interfere with family's upcoming cruise. Yes, they still went on cruises together every few years, despite their children being grown and having families of their own. Their father said that because of the wedding and how expensive it's going to be, the family cruise would have to be pushed back to another year or 2. Entitled cousin practically exploded. She blamed Good cousin for taking the cruise away from her and her precious boy, who was 5 years old at this point. She said she told her son how they were going on a cruise, and how now he's going to be so upset because his selfish aunt wants to get married instead of giving him a happy week in the tropics. Entitled cousin even had the audacity to demand Good cousin to reschedule the wedding for next year, so they could go on the cruise instead. Good cousin, who was normally not a confrontational person, had it with her sister's attitude, and told her if she wanted to go on a cruise, she would have to pay for it herself. Entitled cousin and her husband were nowhere near as wealthy as their father, and there was no way he was going to reschedule his own daughter's wedding just to give entitled cousin what she wanted. Entitled cousin's ranting went on for weeks, flipping back and forth between blaming her sister for, quote, ruining her son's young years, and begging her father for money to go on a cruise because she and her family deserved it. She drove good cousin to tears, and she ended up calling me up for advice. My only advice to her was to give entitled cousin, who normally gets everything, nothing. And by nothing, I mean don't invite her to the wedding. Like most sisters would do, good cousin wanted entitled cousin to be one of her bridesmaids, as she was a bridesmaid at entitled cousin's wedding. Not inviting her would be a major upset for everyone involved, but it just may be the thing to teach entitled cousin a lesson. So she did just that. Good cousin called up her sister and flat out told her that if she did not change her attitude, she did not want it leaving a sour taste at her wedding. Again, entitled cousin blew up, shouting at good cousin, calling her all sorts of names and again blaming her for the cruise being cancelled. Good cousin hung up and decided to not invite her to the wedding. The wedding was amazing, and I ended up being the bridesmaid to take EC's place. Yes, I was invited to the wedding originally, but good cousin did not want me to be bridesmaid, only because she knew I hated dresses and I'd rather wear a suit. But I said I'd wear a dress just for her special day. It's been a few years now, and good cousin and good husband have a beautiful little girl, and have a baby boy on the way. Entitled cousin is still in their lives and is still as nasty as ever. But she doesn't come to her father begging for anything anymore, because after her behavior towards him and good cousin, he threatened to leave her out of his will if she continued to pester either of them. Maybe now that she's not going to get everything handed to her on a silver platter, she'll change her attitude for the better. Or at least that's what we all wish to happen. I just want to say about this story, I'm so glad that the good cousin said, you know what, you want to act this way? You're not coming to the wedding at all. I thought that was a great thing that happened, and I want to read a comment that I found in the original post, and it goes like this. Good for good cousin. That was a big step in the right direction for everyone involved. She probably would have been awful and disrupted at the wedding anyways. Way to not tolerate bad behavior. And another commenter replies to that and says, oh, you know it. She would have made it her mission to make the evening as miserable as possible, without getting cut out for the will for doing it. I guarantee she'll have the bride in tears right before going to the altar. Guys, let me know in the comment section down below, do you think that the grandpa should cut her out of the will? I would love to hear your opinions on that. We have a small story next. The title is, Do Not Try to Make Me Babysit Your Baby, or I'll Remove You Indefinitely from My Life. Here we go, story number 2. My brother and his psycho wife asked me the other day to babysit their children, and I said no. I work a 9-to-5 job and do extracurricular stuff afterwards that's more important. To which his psycho wife said, quote, You're going to babysit your nephew and nieces because we're on our way to your place right now. And you're just gonna have to freaking deal with it. Which I then replied, go ahead and try. And promptly got in my car and left my place of residence and did not come back until later. I already had things to do. The next morning, my neighbor next door said that a woman was at my door with her baby and 2 little girls for an hour and a half, just knocking on the doors and windows, trying to get in. To which I called my brother and was absolutely livid and told him to not let his wife do this kind of crazy stuff ever again. Turns out they wanted me to watch the kids so they could go bar hopping until 2, and not have me return their children till 10 a.m. the next day. I've told him and my family I'm child-free. Everyone seems to leave me alone about it, except for this chick. She has legit called me irresponsible and a man-child for not wanting to have kids when I first told my family about it. I think this lady is completely unstable, Maybe she has a drinking problem, I don't know, but the fact that she's banging on someone's door for an hour to drop her kids off when she was already told no, just so she can go out and drink, that's far too many red flags. Let me read a comment that I found. She sounds unhinged. Blocker. I'd warn your brother that if she ever dumps the kid at yours, you'll report them to CPS as abandoned. I think that's great advice, and I would do the same. Let me know what you would do if you were in the same shoes as OP. Our final story of the day, this one is about headphones. It involves someone who has autism who likes to wear headphones at work. Well. Apparently, that's the end of the world for this Karen, who's just not having it. Background. All this happened about a year ago at a cleaning job. I had to pay my way through university. I was registered with a cleaning agency who would send me to a various different place to clean. One of which was a very expensive and pretentious private school for kids under 11. Seriously, this place was like Hogwarts. And I went there about once in a fortnight. Also relevant is that I have autism, which means I often struggle with loud and high-pitched noises, which made working in a school full of screaming kids quite hard. I worked out a deal with my boss at the school whereby when the kids were out in the playground being super loud, I would clean places that were off limits to them and wear headphones. When they went into lessons and were quiet, I would do the public spaces. All this worked out fine. Anyways, on to the story. The cast. Me, entitled mom, self-explanatory, and B is my boss. So, it's the morning and all the kids are arriving at school, loud as hell. So, I start my day cleaning the teacher's break room. I'm wearing my headphones, I'm jamming out, all is well. Then, entitled mother bursts through the door, clearly having just dropped off her precious angel. I take out my headphones to see what she wants, and here's how the conversation followed. "Oh, I must have the wrong room. I wanted to use the bathroom." "No worries, the bathroom's next door on the right." "Were you wearing headphones?" Yeah." "That's completely unacceptable. I pay over 10 grand a year for that staff at my baby school to be wearing headphones at work." What an awful example to be setting at children that they can listen to music in the workplace. The teachers take my baby's phone away at the start of the day, and you can just wander around with yours." In all fairness, ma'am, the children aren't allowed in this room. And when I'm in spaces where they are allowed, I don't have my phone or headphones on me. "You're being totally unprofessional. It's an attitude like that which means you're a cleaner, and my child will achieve real success." "I'm actually doing this job to pay for my degree, ma'am." "If that were true, you'd be smart enough to know you don't talk back to the people that pay your wages. Your boss will be hearing about this." She storms out, and about 10 minutes later, she comes back with my boss. Now I'm feeling stressed out and on the verge of tears. Another side of my autism is that confrontation, conflict, or being yelled at and stressed, they stress me out beyond belief. I'm seriously relieved to see my boss, and I can't wait to see the look on entitled mom's face when my boss tells her that my wearing headphones is okay. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. See? Completely unprofessional.
"I'm very sorry, Miss Ma'am. This is unacceptable. Will you please apologize and remove your headphones?"
"But I've been working here for months and I've always worn my headphones. You told me it was okay."
"It's not okay, and we cannot accept you working in this school if you don't comply with our codes of conduct."
"But you said..."
"Honestly, Miss Entitled Mother, I did not and would never condone such a thing."
I was about to start crying because I felt so shitty about the whole situation. Then I thought, duck this. I hate this job. I hate being talked down to by snooty parents, teachers, and kids alike, and my boss lying about me to appease this entitled Karen. This is the final straw. Well, are you going to apologize? No. Find someone else to deal with your obnoxious staff and entitled brats. I laid down all my stuff and walked out and never went back. My boss at the cleaning agency refused to send the school any more cleaners since they had blatantly lied after telling the agency it was fine for autistic staff to wear headphones. They also insisted I got paid for a full day's work, which the school did. It was very satisfying walking out of the job. I would not wish working as any kind of manual labor staff in a private school on anyone. I don't think the worst person in this story was the Karen. Yeah, she was vile, she was toxic, she was evil. She might not have known Opie had autism, but still, regardless, she's a horrible person. But I don't think she was the worst of the story. It has to be the boss. The boss who did not stand up to this kid who he knows has autism, and he even gave permission to wear the headphones. That's the worst part of the entire story, and for that, he gets our Loser of the Week award. I know, sounds like a new thing. I'm gonna start handing it out to a loser of the story. Guys, let me know in the comment section down below if you remember any characters from this week that could possibly be more of a loser than this boss. I'm glad you guys were here. I liked reading these stories. Subscribe to the channel because there's plenty more to come. And I hope you guys have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow.